let there be peace. I am a stand for peace. Let there be love. I am a stand for love. Let there be joy. I am a stand for joy. We are making a new world now. We are making a new world now.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Unity Spiritual Community in Citrus Heights, where all people are welcome and where differences are celebrated as the splendor of God's creative expression. Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. I'd like to open our service today by sharing the daily word. And the word for today is listen. In the quiet of my heart, I listen for the voice of Spirit. In the quiet of my heart, I listen for the voice of Spirit. During the course of a busy day, I may hear all kinds of things: conversations, music, sounds from nature, traffic noise, and even my constant self-talk. Sometimes all that I'm hearing may numb me to the more intentional act of listening. As I listen, I become aware of the voice of Spirit. Its comforting, guiding presence feels like a homecoming. As I settle into a tranquil environment and begin to relax my body and my mind, I create a welcoming space for listening to the assuring voice of Spirit, discernible as my inner knowing. I breathe deeply and I rest in this space. I go about my day listening attentively for the voice of Spirit expressing through all the people in my life. And our scripture today is from the Gospel of Luke 11:28. Blessed rather are those who hear the word of God and obey it. And the word for today is listen. I'm the Reverend Carla Comiter, and with me today is our Minister of Music, Lisa Lawson. And so I wanted to share for our Sunday featurette. I'm going to begin with a personal story about a time in my life when I was wandering through the wilderness. You may remember that the theme of our autumn journey this year is the hero's journey, navigating the wilderness, and how really we all feel like we're in the wilderness due to many global situations. But this for me happened in the year 2000. It began in the year 2000. That's when I was ordained. And I had a plan for my life. I was engaged to be married. I was going to have this person as my partner in ministry, and after ordination, I was going to find a church and move and begin my career. Well, everything fell apart. The man I was engaged to changed his mind, and in the first 6 months of the year 2000, there were 6 deaths in my family and among my friends and business colleagues. My father died, my brother died, my cousin died, my dog died. And this was all on top of a broken engagement, which radically changed my vision of my future ministry. So I put my plans for finding a church and moving across the country on hold. And I stayed in Missouri, or as they would say in Missouri, I hunkered down and stayed in Missouri until I felt strong enough to carry on wandering the wilderness. I fell in love with a house. This house was on the way home from the grocery store. And it was the quintessential American dream house. It was on a corner. It had a white picket fence, for crying out loud. It had a big yard and dormer windows, and that house represented to me everything I felt that I had lost. It represented home and family, and I would go out of my way to drive by this house. One time I drove by so slowly that I saw a woman looking out the window at me, thinking I was stalking. Time passed and I got better, and I worked at Silent Unity for a couple of years, and finally 5 years after I was ordained, I moved to California and became the minister of this church. So one day I was talking to Barbara Yakel, and she was truly a wise elder of our congregation. She passed away a year ago. She was a licensed Unity teacher, and I was telling her about this house in Lee Summit, Missouri that I had fallen in love with. And as I described it to her, she said, "Oh, I know that house. That's James Dillett Freeman's house." I said, "Oh, no, really, Barbara, you can't know that." She said, "Oh, yes, I can." And I told her the name of the streets it was on the corner of, and it was James Dillett Freeman's house. He passed away by then. And I thought, this house, which represented everything I thought I wanted, really represented everything I already had. James Dillett Freeman outlived 2 wives. He didn't have any kids. He had a very long, like 60-year ministry in Unity, serving in many capacities. He was a Unity minister. I had picked out the house of a Unity minister and said, this is what I want, and it's what I already had. Now, I don't know really what the moral of this story is, except I think it has something to do with the way God talks to us, and the way God guides us, and the way we may, with our human understanding, get confused about what we're supposed to be figuring out from this guidance. But today's featurette is an essay by James Dillett Freeman, and it is called, "Is Unity a Church?" Our talk today is about New Thought and New Age and Unity's role. So the featurette is very appropriate for this talk. James Dillett Freeman lived from 1912 to 2003. He was a poet and Unity minister and was the Unity Movement's poet laureate. Some say that he was the poet laureate to the moon, because 2 of his poems traveled to the moon with astronauts. Though the essay that we're sharing was written many years ago, it remains a wonderful and relevant description of what we call unity. So, Reverend Freeman wrote, "People often ask, is Unity a church? I usually answer, what is a church? What do you think a church is? Your idea of what a church is may determine what you think unity is." The word that is translated as church in the New Testament is a Greek word, ecclesia. It merely meant the called out ones, the people who had been called out. And Jesus used it to refer to those who were following in the way and doing the work of the Christ, carrying the message of truth to the world. And this certainly Unity is doing. In the first days of Christianity, church could not possibly have referred to a place, because there were no places in which Christians were established. In the same way, people in Unity have gotten together and set up places they call centers or churches or temples or societies or spiritual communities, where they can meet and exchange their ideas of truth and help one another develop their divine potential. And I think in this day and age, we would have to add Zoom sessions to all those places just mentioned. But this has not been a principal way that unity has found expression. Unity is as much an attitude as an idea. And it is a religious movement that is not limited to any particular place or denomination. Perhaps unity is a new kind of church. Unity does not demand that you subscribe to a creed. Unity does not ask whether you are a member of some particular religious organization. Unity does not require you to perform certain rites or practices. In all these matters, it leaves you free. This is one of the great characteristics of unity. It leaves people free to practice their religion at whatever level they have come up to, and to do whatever they feel is right and necessary to establish their own right relationship with God. The church that is unity crosses all religious bodies, all denominations. It does this not as a separating, divisive force, but as a harmonizing, strengthening spirit. The work of unity, its religious activity as a church, is done with no regard to sect or denomination. I want to give you a sidebar here. When I worked at Silent Unity, we talked about the two congregations that Unity served. And the first congregation was people who go to Unity churches. The second one is all those other people who call Silent Unity, who subscribe to the daily word, who go to retreats at Unity Village. At one time, I heard that 80% of the people who called Silent Unity did not attend Unity churches, that they were primarily Catholic and Baptist. So they were the other congregation to whom Unity ministers quite well. Unity is a church, but a new and different kind of church. It has teachings, but not a creed. It is more a weekday application of spiritual principles to daily problems than it is a Sunday service. Those who study its teachings do not even have a name they can give when people ask, "What are you?" You know, if you ask a Baptist what they are, they're a Baptist. If you ask somebody who goes to the Episcopal Church, they're an Episcopalian. If you ask somebody who goes to Unity what they are, they say, "I'm somebody who goes to Unity." Or the closest we ever came to a label was the term unitic. But we weren't really serious. We didn't want that as our official label. It was just kind of like a joke. We're unitics. People who go to Unity churches are not Unity anything. They just have to say that they are students of Unity or metaphysics or something of that sort. Perhaps the essence of Unity's meaning is as a new and different kind of church. And perhaps that essence is found in its name, Unity, because this name leaves no one out. And where does that leave us? It leaves us free. And thus ends the featurette. Now I want to introduce Lisa for another song and let you know that this song, "Fill Me Up," is a new one that she's written. And you may have noticed in our pre-service songs that the lyrics, some of them at the top, say by Lisa Lawson because they are original songs that she's written. I personally feel that Lisa will be the face of New Thought music someday. I really do. It's such a special thing to find myself like working in the kitchen singing, "I have the joy of knowing oneness," And I'm singing Lisa's songs, and they're my favorite songs. So I'm excited about this new one, and I hope you enjoy it too. So here is Lisa to sing Fill Me Up.
Thank you, Carla. This is one of the songs that we were going to do at our event with Mark Stanton Welch, and I had a really fun time working this up with my family as a band. So I hope you get to hear them and me do it sometime. Fill me up with your presence. Fill me up with your love. Fill me up with the knowing that all is well. All is well. Fill me up with your presence. Fill me up with your love. Fill me up with the knowing that all is well. All is well. I surrender now, opening to the realm of possibility. My eyes are open, my heart is free, peace unfolding. Fill me up with your presence. Fill me up with your love. Fill me up with the knowing that all is well. All is well. I surrender now, opening to the realm of possibility. My eyes are open, my heart is free, peace unfolding. Fill me up with your presence. Fill me up with your love. Fill me up with the knowing that all is well. All is well. All is well. All is well. And let us be filled up today, filled up with the presence of Spirit, and filled up with love, knowing indeed that all is well as we listen. We listen to that voice inside of us, around us, within us and without us, that guides us every day and in every moment. We bring our concerns into this space this morning. Our prayer requests for ourselves and for those around us and for the world, especially in this time as we approach the election, as we still forge ahead through COVID, through all of the changes that are happening as we transform into this new age we're learning about today. We know that we can rest in this Spirit. We can express this Spirit in the world, and we release all of our concerns to the loving care of Christ's Spirit this morning, as we know that all is well, and so it is. Amen. And I invite you to send us your prayer requests by email at info@unitycitrusheights.org. Or let us know if you would like to be added to our wellness calling list, where we can call you or text you or email you to serve your personal prayer requests once a month. And also remember that Silent Unity has a almost 24-hour prayer hotline that you can call for your personal prayer requests, and I encourage you to do that at 1-800 now pray. You'll have to figure out those numbers. Okay. And now I invite you to join me in preparing for a time of meditation. Oh, Spirit, guide me deep inside me. Take me to my heart place, the place of ease and grace. Breathe in this moment, this sacred moment. I am peace. I am
Let us enter a time of meditation. Gently sweep away any distracting thoughts and come fully into this present moment. Know that you are guided through every day of your life. We loosen our grip on tomorrow, knowing that God's good supply will not fail us. We release the past, open to the lessons it contained. We focus in the here and now, our senses alert to the beauty of nature, our minds calm and free, able to meet each new moment with poise and ease. This is the day that the Lord has made. This is the moment that the Lord has made. We are God's people. We live in this moment. Relax more deeply and take a couple of deep cleansing breaths. As you exhale, allow yourself to release any lingering feelings of doubt or fear. As we learn to live in the present moment, we learn that we can trust ourselves and we can trust the process of life. We were born into an environment that naturally supports us, as natural as the wildflowers growing. The flowers are the earth, made green and growing. We are spirit, made alive and glowing. It is natural that you are human, that you are part of the earth. You chose to be born, and you were chosen to be part of this experience. Relax into the assuredness of this knowing as we share a few moments in the silence. Returning your awareness to this time of celebration. Allow your mind to drift outside of the walls. Remember the beauty of autumn that surrounds you. Take a moment to feel gratitude for the changing colors of the leaves. Appreciate this, our home in the city of trees. We are one with the earth, with God, and with each other. Just as seasons change and the plants grow, our lives unfold through seasons of change and growth. We trust ourselves, we trust the process, and always, always, we trust God, now and forevermore. Amen.
Oh, Spirit, guide me deep inside me. Take me to my heart place, the place of ease and grace. Breathe in this moment, this sacred moment. I am peace. I am renewed. In this moment, in this place, I remember who I am, letting fear and worry slip away from me. I open my eyes and see there is only love. There is only love. Love that heals, love that sets us free. There is only love. When I lose myself, when it seems I've lost my way, I can hear Spirit gently say, there is only love. There is only love. Love that heals, love that sets me free. There is only love. There is only love. There is only love. Love that heals, love that sets us free. There is only love. There is only love. There is only love. Love that heals, love that sets us free. There is only love.
Lisa, that was simply divine. Thank you so much. Our talk today is about the New Age and New Thought and where unity fits in these labels. You know, there is a mystery of unity. Hardly anybody knows what you're talking about when you say that you go to a unity church. The first question that most people ask is, well, is that the same as Unitarian? No, it's not. Unitarian is a completely different spiritual movement from unity. Then when people hear that we are New Thought, they get that confused with New Age. And a lot of folks consider New Age practices to be woo-woo. Have you heard of that term, woo-woo? I actually had a church member tell me that people in her family were afraid that unity ministers stood behind the pulpit and went, woo, 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 woo. I did not make that up. And I rarely do that. So is unity part of the New Age movement? No, it's a new thought. It's a new thought movement. And if you look at it this way, there are many different divisions in religion and in Christianity. And you could lump the Baptists and Lutherans and Presbyterians and Methodists all as Protestant religions. Well, New Thought is another grouping of religions. We're not Protestant, but there are several denominations that are part of the New Thought movement. So we will discuss both the New Age and New Thought in more detail. The New Age, the term New Age, got its beginning, at least in my life, with that singing group, The Fifth Dimension, in 1969, singing "This is the Dawning of the Age of Aquarius," because it was. It was the Earth entering a new age astronomically, which it does every 2,100 years. The age we were leaving, the age that began around the time Jesus was born, was the age of Pisces. And then about 2,100 years later, we're entering a new age. Hence the whole conglomeration of beliefs and practices that got lumped under the label New Age. There is no organized New Age religion or movement. There is no headquarters for New Age, and there is no particular thing that people who might accept the label of being New Agers, no particular thing that they agree on or practice. The New Age is a conglomeration of beliefs and practices, many of which are fairly spiritual in their orientation. There are some ancient practices lumped into some newer approaches to enlightenment. Now, unity is very open-minded about other belief systems. We know that there are many paths to God. We have nothing against the New Age or anybody who practices New Age beliefs. New Agers as a whole are peaceful, positive people who are on the quest for enlightenment. They might be the people who like to say that they're spiritual but not religious. There are some practices, such as meditation, that are strongly represented in both the New Age movement and in New Thought. Now, New Thought, like New Age, most of the New Thought is based on ancient teachings and ancient practices. There is very little that's new in New Thought. So I don't know how we got that label, but we did. Today, New Thought refers to a branch of religious thinking. The two main denominations are unity and religious science. A few years ago, the religious science churches all decided to start calling themselves the Centers for Spiritual Living. So right now, you won't see churches saying that they're religious science churches, but if you see the Centers for Spiritual Living, it's the same thing. They just decided that more accurately described what they were up to. New Thought per se is not necessarily a Christian movement. Unity is officially a Christian movement. We refer to ourselves as New Thought Christians. But the issue of unity being Christian has been battered about a bit in recent times. And I don't know if we've gotten hung up on the letter of the definition versus the spirit of the definition. But once in a while, we'll change our wording for everything, either making it more Christian or less Christian. And one of the main unity churches in the movement, which is Unity Temple on the Plaza in Kansas City, changed their bylaws to say that they're not Christian. They house the American Catholic movement, but they also house the Buddhists. And they thought that it was too limiting to accept the label Christian. There's still unity. And I think this is the beauty of it, is not getting hung up on the labels. Oh, and by the way, Jesus was not a Christian either. There are two primary international organizations in New Thought. The first one is called the International New Thought Association, and it has been around for a long time. They have had annual conferences and training sessions. The leader of INTA was a unity minister for many, many, many years. He may still be the leader. I'm not current in my information. A few years ago, the president of our board and I went to at the time, religious science church in Oakland, and went to training that they were offering for board members and ministers. It was through the INTA. The other organization is newer. It came into being in the last 20 years. And it's called the Association for Global New Thought. And they have a different focus. The reason they are global New Thought is that they interact with other world leaders in religion like the Dalai Lama, and they are active in the World Parliament of Religions and do things on a different scale and with a different focus from INTA. They're really big and they're really exciting in what they do. We can trace the development of New Thought through branches of mystical Christianity through the centuries. But in its way, it is a uniquely American movement. It has its roots in the American philosophy of transcendentalism, which means to transcend the physical. That's a big word that's really not scary at all. The two biggest names in the transcendental movement were Ralph Waldo Emerson and Henry David Thoreau. And there are two very fine books on the history and development of New Thought. One of them is Spirits in Rebellion by Charles Braden. It was used as the textbook at Unity Village. And I always get tickled about the title of that book being Spirits in Rebellion, because as any minister in the Unity movement will tell you, all the Unity spirits are still in rebellion. That's why we say we heard cats, or sometimes we say we heard kittens. They're just as beautiful as cats, but they're awfully sweet, and you'd be very gentle with them. The other book is called Friends in High Places by Thomas Shepard. Now, Friends in High Places emphasizes the mystical tradition behind New Thought. And Thomas Shepard was my predecessor as the minister of our church. He left to go teach at Unity Village. I wanted to spend a little time discussing metaphysical Christianity and unity mysticism. I've mentioned before that Unity is a school of direct mysticism. I get the sense that in some other denominations, the idea of being a mystic is a very special thing, or that if you say you're a mystic, it's like you're setting yourself apart or above other people. But Unity is a school of direct mysticism. We believe that everybody is a mystic. You go to God, you turn to the Christ within, you trust yourself, and this frees you from needing an intermediary like a priest or the Bible, although those are both valuable in their own way. We teach through prayer and meditation that each person has a direct connection with God and the total and easy ability to ask for and recognize the divine guidance that is ever present. Along with the freedom this brings you comes a responsibility for your own spiritual growth, going in for your guidance, and learning to trust yourself. Unity does emphasize prayer and meditation. The co-founder of the Unity movement, Charles Fillmore, called this going to headquarters. He spent hours a day in the silence. They say that his grandchildren would have friends over and he'd be sitting in his chair meditating for hours, and the little kids would say, "What is he doing?" They say, "Oh, he's going to headquarters." He does that every day. So let's talk about metaphysical Christianity. Metaphysics commonly is defined as the study of that which is beyond the physical, the spiritual underpinnings and cause for physical reality, metaphysics. And Unity, being Christian metaphysics, has led to metaphysical Bible interpretation. And this is one of the things that Unity does very well and is different from at least some other, we'll call them denominations, in their approach to Bible study. We've written several books, a couple of dictionaries on where you can look up the interpretation of the words in the Bible. And I wanted to give you a couple of examples of what it would be to do metaphysical Bible interpretation. So I want to tell you about Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve were the parents of the human race. Metaphysically, we don't consider whether they were really human, whether they really lived in the Garden of Eden. Metaphysically, Adam represents masculine consciousness within each person. And the masculine consciousness is labeled as the intellect, the intellectual consciousness. And Eve represents the feminine consciousness in every person. And the feminine consciousness represents our emotional nature. And when Adam and Eve created the human race, it was the melding of the intellect and the emotion. And the metaphysical interpretation is that it takes both. It takes both to be a human. And when you meld the intellectual and the emotional energies together, you produce the human personality. Another example of metaphysical Bible interpretation would be that each main character in the Bible represents a stage that every human goes through in their journey into Christ consciousness. That we all start in Adam consciousness, and that is the consciousness of the physical world, the consciousness of our five senses. And then as we become more and more enlightened, we move through Isaiah consciousness and Jeremiah consciousness and Peter, Paul, and Mary consciousness. You could study it this way. Moses was the letter of the law. Moses was the kind of consciousness sometimes is used to describe a 2-year-old. When the 2-year-old says, no, no. And Moses said, thou shalt not. And this interpretation of the law is the one that was rigid, that led to dietary restrictions about what you could do on the Sabbath, and all of the form of the law. When Jesus came along, Jesus was interpreted as the spirit of the law. So he did things. He healed people on the Sabbath because the spirit of the law is what is important. But the human consciousness has to grow through the letter of the law to be informed, and then into the spirit of the law to expand that understanding and to approach then Christ consciousness. So this is an example of basic metaphysical Bible interpretation. Another important difference in unity is that we study the Bible from many, many different angles. We study different versions of it. We include the Gnostic Gospels. We study it in 3 important ways: as the history of the Jewish people, as a source of general metaphysical principles like as you give, so shall you receive, and then as that evolution of each human from Adam to Christ consciousness. And most importantly, we teach that meditating on Scripture and being open to what you are having revealed to you is a valid way of understanding the Bible, metaphysically or in any other way. So we need to remember that it's important to maintain open minds. and to have clarity about definitions of terms like New Age versus New Thought. And I wanted to close this talk with one of my favorite Hafiz poems, my favorite Sufi sage. It's a short little poem. It's called Dropping Keys. The small man builds cages for everyone he knows, while the sage, who has to duck his head when the moon is low, keeps dropping keys all night long for the beautiful, rowdy prisoners. And thus ends the lesson. God bless you all.
I am the thinker who thinks the thought that changes things, that shape my life. I am the thinker who thinks the thought I have the power to change my life. I am the thinker who thinks the thought that changes things, that shapes my life. I am the thinker who thinks the thought I have the power to change my life. And if you ask me, who am I am wisdom, I am light, I am more than meets the eye. I cannot be defined. I am the thinker who thinks the thought that changes things, that shape my life. I am the thinker who thinks the thought I have the power to change my life. And if you ask me, what am I am beauty, I am joy, I am more than meets the eye. I cannot be defined. I am the thinker who thinks the thought that changes things, that shape my life. I am the thinker who thinks the thought I have the power to change my life. I am the thinker who thinks the thought that changes things, that shape my life. I am the thinker who thinks the thought I have the power to change my life. I can choose to be the light that brightens someone's darkest night. I'm so much more than meets the eye. I cannot be defined. I am the thinker who thinks the thought that changes things, that shape my life. I am the thinker who thinks the thought I have the power to change my life. I have the power to change my life. I have the power to change my life. Okay. So new thought, changing our thoughts. And aren't we blessed to be part of this wonderful community? It's time to move into our time of offering. And let's just hold our community in our hearts today. And I'm going to screen share again. Go ahead here so that we can say our prosperity prayer together. So please say this with me. We know that divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I choose to give, and all that I am open to receive. And we imagine our gifts today that we have given through mail or by donating on the website or on our newsletter and the donate button. And we just appreciate so much all that you give to keep our community active and serving, and your consistency in giving that's so important to us. It allows us to provide these services for you. So let's take those prayers now and bless them, knowing that Unity Spiritual Community is a center of the Christ love, mighty to attract good and to radiate good to others. And so it is. Amen. And please, you may find a donate button on our webpage, which is unitycitrusheights.org, or you can mail your check to us at P.O. Box 2176, Citrus Heights, California, 95611. We're looking at getting Venmo, and so making it even easier for you to give online. We just are so grateful for that.
Thank you, Lisa. So we have a few announcements to share this morning. Next week, our talk will be on the Day of the Dead, very appropriately, since it will be the Day of the Dead. And remember that next week, we're going to be changing back to standard time. So you get an extra hour, which we love. And that Halloween is Saturday. I don't know if it's going to be a really big deal this year. And next week is November the 1st. So, brr. The Wednesday night class. This week we will be talking about the Myers-Briggs personality types. Our attendees have had the chance now to do some exploration and determine their own and learn about them. And then we will be spending some time on the idea of treasure maps or vision boards, because that's the assignment for the next week coming up. And we'll have time to explore what it means and why we would bother to make one of these. And then, as always, I wanted to remind you that after the service is done, we'll turn off all the recordings, and those who are together on Zoom today are invited to stay and chat so that we can check in and see how your week was doing. All righty. And now I think Lisa will lead us in the peace song.
There we go. Weave us together in unity and love. Weave us together, together, and let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as creator. Family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyful vow, to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
And now for our prayer of protection. We know that the light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. God bless you all. Have a wonderful week.
We got a good thing going on around here. We got a good thing going on around here. You can see it on each and every face. There's a sweet, sweet spirit in this place. We got a good thing going on around here. We got a good thing going on. We got a good thing going on. We got a good thing going on. We got a good thing